She swore to never forget this moment, to never forget the old woman who had made her place in the world possible. Time moves on. People and memories move in and out of a life like ghosts passing through a hall. But this moment will be different, Kainé swore, because I will remember it forever. Forever. Oh, God. It's been a while since I've done voiceover work. Oh, there's more. There's a lot of reading. Where, like, the beginning of Ending B, or the playthrough B, or whatever you want to call it, is just Kainé the novel. We're going to be here for a bit. I hope you don't mind the sound of my voice. Also, Walter, yes. Honest, you think she's going to be like... She doesn't say it's good. She's just like, oh, you're clumsy, but I like it anyway. Like, Kainé herself knows it's not good, and her grandmother doesn't blow smoke up her ass, but she's like, you know what? Like, yeah, it kind of sucks, but you tried really hard on it, and it makes me feel really, really happy and proud of you in a way that is really special to me. Kainé listened to the sound of crackling firewood and stared at the black object on her plate. She'd been pushing it around the wooden disc for a good 10 minutes, ignoring the bemused stare of her grandmother. Finally, she summoned her courage and gave the object a brief sniff. Sharp, bitter scent flew up her nostrils and made its home there, causing her face to twist with disgust. Grandma, I can't believe you want me to eat a bug. The old woman threw some more wood under the cooking pot and snorted. No bug, you fool girl, it's a berry. Why the hell would I be feeding you bugs? Yeah, well, it sure looks like a bug. And I think it's burnt or something, because it smells terrible. With that, Kainé held her nose and threw the berry in her mouth, chewing as little as possible. Oh yeah, that's terrible, all right. Why, you little brat, laughed the old woman. Look at the sass on you. You've been spending too much time with me, and that's a fact. 5 years had passed since the moment when Kainé's grandmother saved her from the bullies. As is often the way with two stubborn people, the relationship had grown in fits and starts, but moved forward all the same. Meals that used to be somber affairs were now filled with laughter and hurled abuse in equal measure. Kainé could not remember a time when she had been happier. As the years went by, Kainé started to shoulder more and more of the daily responsibilities. Her grandmother's legs grew weaker by the day, and she could no longer do many of the chores she used to take for granted. So this morning found Kainé lacing up her work boots, with a breakfast of burned berry rolling through her belly. Where are you going today? Asked Grandma suddenly. Kainé looked up, surprised. The old woman rarely asked for specifics anymore. I was going to check out the kelma trees and see if they were ripe. Thought we could make some jam or something. Oh, and I'm going to pick up some flagstones, so I need to take the wheelbarrow. Flagstones? What in the hell for? Kainé stared at her grandmother, then held out an arm and swept it around their home. Constructed mostly of cloth, rope, and rubble, the old place sagged like a boxer in the final round. Grandma, a dying cat could chew through this house. I'm gonna build a stone wall so we have some protection. The old woman laughed, exposing her toothless grin to the world. God damn, girl, if a bunch of thieves want to ransack this old place, let them come. We got nothing worth stealing anyway. I'm not worried about thieves, I'm worried about shades. People saw one west of the village yesterday. The old woman tilted her head and stared at her granddaughter. Well, shoot, I don't know why you have to do it today. We can worry about some other. Grandma, no. If I don't go to the kelma trees, we won't eat tonight. You know that. Confused expression passed the old woman's face. For a moment, she was a small child lost at a carnival. Yes. she said after a bit. Yes, of course you're right. I'm sorry, Kainé. Lately it seems my mind is... She didn't finish the thought, instead walking over to her nightstand and gently taking the wreath of lunar tears from the drawer. The flower's petals had aged to a brilliant whiteness. Kainé thought it was more beautiful now than the day she'd first received it. You're gonna be a true woman soon, Grandma said as she placed the flowers in the girl's hair. That means less chatter about shades and building defensive walls and more talk about how beautiful you've become. Annoyed, Kainé reached up to remove the garland, but the look on her grandmother's face stopped her hand. You're a beautiful thing, said the old woman, and there ain't another like you in all the world. I'm very proud of you. Okay, Grandma, that's enough goddamn compliments for one day. Such a mouth on you. Where did that come from? Yeah, gee, I wonder. I'll teach you to sass me, girl. Suddenly she lurched forward and grabbed Kainé by the ears, pulling her around the room with a crazed grin on her face. Grandma? Grandma, stop it! What the hell? The old woman stared at her and blinked, and slowly held her wrinkled hands out as if it was the first time she had ever seen them. I don't know what happened there. I'm sorry, girl. Sometimes my mind just... Kainé thought the look on her grandmother's face was the most heartbreaking thing she had ever seen. Listen, she began. Maybe I should stay home after all. No, I won't have you stay here to keep an eye on an old codger like me. You go get your fruit and your wall and whatnot, I'll be fine. When you come back, I'll have a nice grasshopper dinner waiting for you. Kainé rolled her eyes, then kissed her grandmother on the forehead, and made ready to depart, trying desperately to ignore the worry that was gnawing at the walls of her heart. Kainé could feel the old woman's eyes watching her as she moved down the path. Don't turn around. Don't turn around, she told herself. But in the end, the temptation was too great. She spun on her heel for one final look and saw a small, bent woman standing in front of a ramshackle hut with a sad expression on her face. God, she looks so old now. Like the wind could just reach down and carry her away. Kainé worried about her grandmother all day, causing her work to suffer. What little fruit she could collect was tossed carelessly into the wheelbarrow. And she found only a couple stones before losing interest in the project. Finally, as dusk approached, she decided to call it a day. Cursing herself for the lack of focus, Kainé pushed the nearly empty wheelbarrow back down the path. As she crested the final hill, she suddenly froze in place. The wheelbarrow fell from her fingers and collapsed on its side, sending a few pieces of wrinkled brown fruit rolling back down the hill. Her gaze was transfixed by a thick black cloud that hovered just ahead. Tracing its path with a finger, Kainé suddenly felt her stomach knot in on itself. No. Oh, gods, no. Her grandmother's house was ablaze, the flames licking up as if trying to touch the sky itself. Grandma? Grandma! Kainé ran then, faster than she had ever moved in her whole life. Once she tripped on a stone and went sprawling into the rocky ground, but she leapt to her feet and continued running, unmindful of the blood that spilled from her wounded hands and knees. She got closer and closer. Kainé's mind began to race in time with her footfalls. It's too dark. It's too dark, not just fire. Can't be fire, too much smoke. Gotta save her, gotta save her. She burst into the front yard and came to a sudden halt, her worst suspicions confirmed. Smoke from the fire was mingling with the thick, inky blackness of an enormous shade. The massive creature supported itself on 3 twisted feet and achieved balance through means of a large armored tail. Scales, horns, and claws sprouted from its body in a random, chaotic pattern, giving it the appearance of a lizard designed by some insane god. Seeing Kainé, it let out a roar and flicked its tail, sending small whirlwinds spinning around the yard. For a moment, the creature retreated into a shimmery, inky blackness. as if her mind was unable to comprehend that such a thing could actually exist. But then the smell hit her, a blend of rotted meat and excrement, and the horror became real once more. The creature bellowed again, and this time Kainé responded with a scream of her own. "All right, you bastard," she thought as her scream echoed off the high cliffs around them. "It's you or me, let's go." The shade eyed Kainé with bemused interest. Then it began looking from her to the house and back again, as if urging her to look at the destruction it had so gleefully wrought. With dread building in her heart, Kainé glanced towards the house. Through the smoke and flame, she spotted a small figure struggling to escape the ruins. "Grandma!" At the sound of her voice, the old woman began waving frantically. "She's alive," thought Kainé. "Alive!" Kainé's legs sprang to life as she raced across the yard towards the flaming wreckage of the house. Before she could advance more than a few steps, the shade opened its mouth and let out a roar powerful enough to uproot trees and send them flying. The blast sent Kainé tumbling through the air before smashing against the rocky earth. Stars danced in front of her eyes as she tried to remember how her legs worked. "Get up! Get up! Get up, get up, get up, get up, now!" As Kainé struggled to her feet, the shade stomped toward the house and pinned her grandmother to the ground with the tip of a claw. The old woman struggled to move the claw from her stomach, but she might well have been pushing a mountain. She coughed briefly, sending a small spray of blood into the air, then collapsed to the ground, her energy spent. Kainé lurched to her feet, only to fall back to earth with a gasp. Her ankles were on fire. One or both of them were surely broken. Ignoring the pain that screamed through her body, she began dragging herself across the ground, leaving a drunken trail of dust and blood in her wake. "Grandma, hold on. Just a little longer." Her grandmother's face was turning blue, her eyes rolling back until only the whites were exposed. Kainé pulled herself across the ground with maddening slowness, the distance seeming to increase with every second that passed. The shade glanced between the two women and flicked out its tongue, its giant mouth turning up at the corners. Short, panting breaths belched from somewhere deep inside its core. "Bastard, laughing at us." She had no idea how such a mindless creature could experience emotion, but there could be no doubt the shade was taking joy in their suffering. "Yeah, I see your plan." The shade moved its claw slightly, allowing Grandma to breathe again. It was clearly keeping her alive, only to snuff out her life when Kainé was close enough to touch her. "I'm gonna kill this bastard." Summoning all her strength, Kainé rose to her feet. There was a sickening snap from her right ankle as the foot twisted backward. As she forced it from her mind and began to hobble toward the monster. Pulling a small knife from the pouch at her waist, she leapt on the foot that pinned her grandmother and plunged the weapon deep. "Give her back!" she screamed. "Give her back to me!" It was like stabbing a rock. After a few swipes, the knife broke at the hilt with a dull snap. The shade panted laughter again, then raised its tail and sent it rushing through the air toward the young girl that was latched to its foot. Kainé never had a chance. His tail struck her square in the chest and sent her crashing into the burning wreckage of the home. As she lay on the ground with blood pouring from multiple wounds, a small, weak voice spoke up. "Kainé?" Kainé's vision blurred, but she forced herself to focus on the sound. Finally, her eyes cleared enough for her to make out her grandmother's hands reaching out to her through the smoke. "Grandma? Kainé, you gotta run. You can't best this one." Kainé grabbed the hands and held on with all her strength. "Grandma, come on, we have to go." The old woman coughed loudly. One of her hands, slick with blood, slipped from Kainé's grasp and thumped to the ground below. "Grandma, no! No! I said run, god damn it. You have to live. You have to get through." The thought would stay forever unfinished. Before she could say another word, the shade's clawed foot descended, smashing through the remains of the roof and down upon the shattered figure of the old woman. Blood oozed from gaps in the creature's toes as this terrible putrid smell assaulted Kainé's nose once again. She stared at the foot, dumbfounded, convinced that what she was seeing could not possibly be real. When the creature finally lifted its appendage, all that remained underneath was a twisted, unrecognizable mass of rubble and red. Her grandmother was gone. Kainé blinked, trying to feel the hands which had been in hers just a moment before. For a fleeting instant, she could remember the warmth of that embrace, the trembling of the fingers. Then the sensation drifted away on the breeze and was gone. Memories flashed through Kainé's mind, one after the other, faster and faster, until they became a meaningless jangle of noise. Kainé screamed then, a thunderous sound that echoed off the cliffs and seemed to roll away forever. The shade eased forward, black ichor pouring from its mouth and dissolving into smoke on the ground below. The earth shook with every step as it crept towards its prey. Kainé's body slowly rose as if controlled by a mad puppet master. Her arms and legs were bent at impossible angles. Her head lolled dangerously to the side. Yet somehow she managed to stand. Staring at the shade, her eyes began to glow with a deep red fire. The creature, so confident just moments before, took a slow, hesitant step backward, trying to discern if this broken human could possibly pose a threat. Kainé seized the moment. Laughing like a mad woman, she leapt into the air and plunged the shattered hilt of her knife deep into the leg of the shade. The shade shook Kainé off like a fly, sending her crashing to the earth once again. Her chest rose and fell slowly, as if a great weight were resting on it. Moist sounds of pain echoed through her mind. Something warm and thick oozed from her ears. Is that blood? I think it is. I think I'm bleeding to death. No, can't die. Grandma told me to live. Deep inside Kainé's mind, something finally broke. The sound, the pain, the smoke and flames, all of it faded away until all that remained was a single incantation, repeated over and over again. Kill it! Kill it! Kill it! Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it! You get it. Kill it. Kill it now! As the spark that was Kainé slowly began to flicker and die, she felt her desire to kill and her desire to live blend into one. The distance between heartbeats grew longer, and longer, and longer. Hey, she's back.
The beast approaches. Oh, I know.
Hey, Weiss. Okay. That still doesn't explain her outfit.
This creature must have. How did it even survive these past 5 years?
I'm not gonna let this happen again. It dies today. My sword feels lighter.
It's not the blade, but the skill of the user. Strike it down.
So yeah, this is, we're starting here. I don't think it changes all that much. excellent question. I will check once we've executed this thing. Excellent idea. That was a lot of reading. I hope I did well, because sequences like that were why I stopped playing Disco Elysium. And we're back. They just had to, they had to break it up with some action. There's more. Oh, there's more Kainé. And I actually think, if I remember correctly, I think they disperse narration sections like this throughout this playthrough, where you're getting more of Kainé's backstory. There's no question that this is budget. This is a lack of budget right here. Like, Kainé has a backstory that is important that you understand. It's important to who she is. It's important to understanding the overall plot of the game. But they didn't have the resources to actually, like, animate all of this. So, yeah. Just, it's a book. They just plop a book in the middle of the game. Gently. Weakly. Softly. Louis, I'm only probably going to go for about another hour because I've got work to do today, so no big deal. You're not missing much. Really, you're just missing a couple of hours of me narrating a story. That's true. They barely had enough resources to do what they did do. The Shade, sure that its tormentor was dead, turned and stomped off toward the horizon, stopping along the way to bellow one final roar. Couldn't kill it. Shamed beyond imagining, Kainé tried to turn her head to the side, but only succeeded in coughing up a huge gout of blood. It was getting difficult to see, and only after a moment of fierce concentration did she realize that her left eye was gone. Laughing to herself, she turned her remaining eye to the ruins of her home and noticed a ragged stump of arm resting a few feet away. Yeah, that's mine, she thought with a mad giggle. It's gonna make clapping a real bitch. Ha! Cried a sudden voice from the depths of her mind. Finally gonna die, are ya? Well, you had it coming. Go to hell, Demo, she thought of the unseen assailant. Go to hell before I pluck out your eyes and feed them to a dog. The voice of her childhood terror evaporated into smoke, only to be replaced by another, more recent voice. Hold still, said the apothecary, materializing from the ruins like a ghost. I want to draw you. That way you can live forever. No, stop. Don't want to live forever. Want to die right here. I see, he said quietly. Well, if that's what you want. The spectral shopkeeper fluttered in and out of existence for a moment, then produced a piece of paper and sketched quickly. After a few seconds, he turned the page to Kainé and smiled. Since you rejected my offer, I decided to draw someone else. It was a picture of her grandmother, real as life. Kainé opened her mouth to thank the man, but stopped as the picture began to blacken in the middle. Before she could say anything, dozens of multi-legged insects began to swarm across the image, tearing at it with sharpened pincers. Stop! No! Don't hurt that picture! Kainé reached out with her remaining arm and waved futilely at the air. To her surprise, the insects fell off the picture and to the ground below, where they vanished into tiny little black tendrils of smoke. Relieved, Kainé turned her good eye back to the picture, only to open her mouth in a silent scream. The sketch The sketch showed her grandmother as she truly was. A smashed, unrecognizable lump of nothing. The apothecary smiled and broke into a jolly dance. "See that?" he cried as he danced his jig. "It's perfect now. She looks just like you. Ha-cha-cha-cha!" I look like that? Oh god, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die with spaces in between. Drowning in despair, Kainé laid her head back in the mud, smoke of her ruined house, and waited for the end to come. But just before she let everything go, an unfamiliar voice began whispering in her ear. "Ain't you got a wish, sunshine?" The voice was vulgar and fierce at the same time, as if insanity had somehow found a way to take form. Kainé wanted to scream as the voice crawled under her skin, but her lungs refused to work. You know, a wish, like a prayer or something? Why don't you get on your knees and start praying to heaven? "Please, invisible man in the sky, save me, save me!" Kainé finally resorted to shouting at the voice in her mind. "I don't make wishes, they don't come true for me. I'm a curse, a freak. I should be left to die." The other voice boomed in her ears. "Wow, God, you're the best!" Kainé glanced down and saw a black, shiny substance oozing from her legs. She tried to brush it away, but her remaining arm would no longer respond. The substance slowly crept around her feet and began moving up toward the rest of her body. Is this death? Is what it's like? Or is my mind just losing itself? She could feel the slime oozing upward, feel the hot, searing pain it left in its wake. Whatever else might be happening, she was still alive, and this was real. "Come on," said the voice. "Let it go." Kainé tried to ignore the voice and concentrate on the pain, but the newcomer would have none of it. "Don't ignore me, sunshine. You're ready to give up, ready to die. So why not let me have it?" Have what? Your body! Come on, give it to me. Give it to me! I want to stand on the ground, feel the rain, taste the wind. The voice paused as if licking its lips. When it resumed, it was filled with mad, unabated joy. "And I want to take your hands and use them to choke the goddamn life out of people. I want to tear out their throats and bathe in the blood just like before." In response, Kainé shifted her head and vomited. The warmth of it crept down her front and mingled with the pain of the encroaching black ooze. "Are you a shade?" "Yeah, maybe. What of it?" The slime reached her face, crept up past her nose, and slowly oozed into the socket of her missing eye. The moment it touched her brain, Kainé was struck by the most powerful sensation she'd ever felt in her life. It was ecstasy. She wanted to scream with delight, but all she could manage was a small, whispered moan. "Feels good, don't it?" asked the voice with a chuckle. "Yeah, what can I say? I know how to please the ladies. Now give me that body. Come on, give me the body and I'll give you more of this feeling. It's a fair trade." A black lump began to protrude from Kainé's side. As she watched, it grew longer and thicker, eventually taking the form of her missing arm. "I could see better," he thought. "My eye must be growing back too." The slime reached up to envelop the rest of her face, but she managed to brush it away. "Stop," she whispered, marveling at how she'd regained her voice. "Stop." The black ooze hesitated as if considering this request, and quickly shimmered down her body before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. "Oh, what the hell, sunshine?" screamed the voice. "We had a deal. I thought you wanted to die." "Grandma said, can't die yet." A brief image of her grandmother, bloodied and broken, flashed before her eyes. She saw the shade that had killed her and heard its mocking laughter, then closed her eyes and forced the image from her mind. Her whole body was quaking with rage. When she opened her eyes again, they burned bright red. "That thing took my grandmother. I have to kill it before I die." Kainé glanced down and saw a mysterious pattern, pattern of the shades, burn itself into her left arm. Well, I'll be damned, said the voice cheerfully. Look at that, Sunshine. I think you and me are going to be good friends now. Kainé stared intently at her arm. The more emotional she felt, the more the letter seemed ready to puncture her skin and begin infecting the rest of her body. The arm clearly had a will of its own now. Stop. Gotta stop. Holding her left arm in her right, Kainé took a deep breath and tried to calm herself. Come on, don't fight it, pleaded the voice. Hate's my favorite dish, and I'm hungry. Let it go. Feel the anger. Burn with the fire of revenge. Thirst for blood. Then go out there and shut up. Shut up and get the hell out of my body. Let the hate consume you. Good. Your body? Oh, that's rich, Sunshine. Real rich. Look, why don't you just up and die so I can have this body all to myself? What do you say? I bet those buddies of yours in the area would love to see you dead. Kainé grabbed a nearby shard of glass and tried to saw off the shade-infected portion of her side. Before she could, her darkened left arm grabbed her right wrist, crushing it. Kainé screamed and dropped the shard as the sound of bone crunching on bone filled the air. Stupid idiot girl. You're possessed now, Sunshine, and there ain't no going back. The voice laughed again. A loud, long wail that seemed to go on without end. Possessed? Yeah, possessed. You and me? We got what you might call a timeshare arrangement. Remember how folks used to think you were a freak? Well, where do they get a load of you now? Hey, quick question, everybody. Did you think that the people in the village were calling her a freak because she was half shade? Because they weren't. That's happening now.